In a remote farming village in East Africa, the rhythm of life has barely changed for generations. Every morning before sunrise, farmers walk toward the same red soil fields, where their families have grown cassava, maize, and millet for decades. Among them is an elderly farmer named Kofi, a thin man with a long white beard who has spent more than 50 years working this land. His tools are simple: a wooden hoe, a woven harvest basket, an experience passed down from his father. But on this particular morning, something in the field would stop the routine of the entire village. At first, the farmers noticed a strange formation in the soil near the edge of the crops. Branches, dry grass, and broken vegetation seemed arranged in a massive circular structure. A nest, but not the kind built by birds. This structure was nearly 20 meters wide, and at its center stood something even more astonishing. A single egg, not the size of an ostrich egg, not even the size of a boulder. This egg stood as tall as a 4-story building, nearly 14 meters high. The farmers froze in silence. Kofi slowly walked closer, his bare feet pressing into the red soil, trying to understand what he was looking at. Because in all his years farming this land, he had never seen anything like it. And the question that immediately spread through the village was simple: what creature could possibly lay an egg that large? Before we continue investigating this discovery, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join our community, because stories like this reveal just how mysterious our world still is. Farmers who normally spent their day harvesting maize were now standing in a wide circle around the nest. The egg dominated the landscape. From a distance, it looked almost like a small tower emerging from the farmland. Using ropes normally used for transporting crops, the farmers began measuring its base. The results were extraordinary. The egg measured over 10 meters in circumference. Its surface felt rough, almost like limestone, covered with mineral patterns and faint dark stains that suggested age or exposure to the elements. But perhaps the most unsettling detail was its weight. When several men pushed against the shell, it did not move even slightly. For comparison, the largest eggs known in nature today belong to the ostrich, which weigh about 1.5 kilograms. Even the extinct elephant bird of Madagascar, one of the largest birds that ever lived, produced eggs only about 30 centimeters long. But this object was hundreds of times larger. Standing next to it, Kofi appeared almost microscopic, and yet the egg showed no signs of artificial construction. No seams, no metal, no tools, only a natural shell, which raises an extraordinary question. If this egg is real, what could possibly be inside it? For the farmers, the discovery was not just mysterious. It was also a problem. The egg had appeared in the middle of an active agricultural area where crops were supposed to be harvested within days. The nest alone covered nearly 1/4 of the field. That meant lost production. And for villages that depend entirely on agriculture, even a small reduction in yield can affect food supply. But no one dared to damage the egg. Instead, they decided to continue harvesting crops around it. The scene was surreal. Farmers cutting maize stalks, women collecting cassava roots, children carrying baskets. And in the middle of it all, a towering egg rising higher than the trees. Even the animals seemed confused. Village dogs circled the structure cautiously. Birds refused to land near it. As the sun moved across the sky, the shell began reflecting warm light across the farmland. And then something happened. Kofi placed his hand on the surface and felt a vibration. At first, Kofi thought it was his imagination. But when he leaned closer and pressed his ear against the shell, he heard it again, a faint movement from inside the egg. Within minutes, the entire village knew. Something inside the structure was alive. The farmers backed away slowly. No one knew how to respond. Because if the egg was truly alive, then whatever creature would emerge from it might be unlike anything known in the region. The villagers had grown up hearing stories of giant animals from ancient times. But this was not folklore. This was sitting directly in their farmland. And its shell was beginning to change. Small cracks were starting to form across the surface. Hairline fractures spreading slowly across the calcified exterior. Each crack produced a faint echoing sound, like distant thunder trapped inside stone. The egg had remained silent for hours. But now, it was waking up. The villagers decided to keep watch through the night. A small fire was lit near the edge of the nest. Kofi sat quietly beside it, staring at the enormous silhouette rising into the dark sky. Even under moonlight, the egg looked unreal, like a monument placed in the wrong place. Every hour, the cracks spread a little further, but the shell still held. Experts would later say that if the egg were truly biological, the shell would need to be incredibly thick to support its own weight. Possibly several centimeters of mineralized calcium layers, which could explain why it had not broken yet. But eventually, all eggs must hatch. And sometime before sunrise, a loud sound echoed across the farmland. The shell had finally begun to split. The crack started near the top, a thin line running several meters down the surface. Dust fell from the shell. Then another crack formed, and another. The structure that had towered silently over the village for an entire day was now slowly breaking apart. Farmers stepped back. No one wanted to be standing too close, because if the shell collapsed suddenly, the fragments alone could weigh hundreds of kilograms. Kofi remained near the edge of the nest, watching carefully. For him, the moment was not frightening. It was fascinating, because after a lifetime of farming, nature had just revealed something completely unexpected. And the final question now remained. What exactly was about to emerge from that egg?